Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to HandsOnSAPDev with Q Macro. That's me, DJ, on a Friday, a Friday holiday morning here in the UK. And I think in a number of countries, today is a public holiday relating to Easter and, of course, Passover and other related things. So thank you for joining on this holiday day. I was wondering whether to do a live stream. I've done a live stream episode on a Friday before when it was a holiday, a public holiday, and it seemed to be okay. I'm going to sort of disappear off. I'm not going to work the rest of the day. I am doing, however, another code at home. I'll talk about that in a second later on, because I think it's better if I keep the schedule going, keep the sort of the episodes up on the expected time and date. So anyway, good morning, Christian, Vincent, Robertinho, Rahul, Helmut, moin moin, Andrew, good evening. Good evening to you. Good evening. And thank you so much for joining. So Rahul, you're saying you're still catching up with with the previous videos, but excited to learn something new. Yeah, there's been a number of folks that have contacted me recently. I think Chesh was another one. Who was also on this webinar yesterday, actually. They've been going through all of the recordings, and there's, 63 of them? So hats off to you people for doing that. That's amazing. That's an amazing piece of work. Happy time zone. Yes, Lars, I think that's, if you don't mind, I might use that in the next one. Happy time zones. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Happy time zone. Brilliant. What a lovely phrase. So yeah, there we go. I've got a few things to share, and then we'll just dig into sort of where we left off on Friday. Was it Friday last week? Seems very short. Anyway, yeah, wherever it was. Friday last week. In tracing through what's actually going on when we try and access that little dest test app, and through that dest test app try and access the OData service in the back end. We started that right at the end, so we'll see how far we get, and there's a few little things that hopefully we'll come across that are interesting. I am really tired this morning. It's been a long, hard week, so my brain is probably functioning even less than usual, so I apologize in advance. I can't even speak, I'm so tired. But I got my cup of tea. I've run out of coffee again. What's going on? But thank you, Gregor, by the way. Gregor is very kindly sending me over some coffee from Bavaria, so that's really nice. Thank you, Gregor. You've got to work in the Netherlands today. Okay, well, that's good. I feel better now. Thank you, Vincent. Thank you. The background looks awesome with all the books. Yeah, this is not a fake background, and those are not fake books. Those are real books. I'm really lucky to have a space at least to put all these shelves and all the books. In fact, I need more shelves because, as you can see, I think there are some parts where I've got books in front of books. There we go. And you can see down there, for example, the wonderful O'Reilly books that I learned from a long time ago, and everything else. So, Helmut, you're saying it's for lots of Germans, it's a more important day than Easter and Christmas. Interesting. Yeah, Phil, I do feel tired. Thanks for what's the word I'm looking for? Sympathizing. Thank you. Okay. So it doesn't work with the kids. Is that the Christian? Is that the code at home? But you can watch the replays. In fact, let's get on with things. Yes, I do feel a bit tired. But anyway, hopefully you will all help me debug through this thing here. Anyway, let me move to the main scene. And I just thought, instead of just using Figlet to put the message, I like to have a default message going on in the background when we move to it, but I'd use another Unix command called cowsay. And I'd forgotten about cowsay, but in fact, playing around with Ansible, if you've not read the blog post recently on what I've been doing on the Raspberry Pi, in fact, I'll share those in a minute. Ansible has this default output for some strange, wonderful reason that uses cowsay, which is awesome. Anyway, let me move that down, And oh, by the way, yes, I did it yesterday. I did a webinar. So look out for the recording of that, moving outside of ABAP and the R3 architecture to CAP with OData and CDS. It was an hour long, and I messed around with CAP and built a little service. And I think if you've done CAP before, it might be a little bit boring for you. But have a look out for the recording. It's not out yet, I don't think, but I think the UK and Ireland SAP user group will post that when it's ready. So that's that. We might get round to this. We did a little bit of this already, but we might get round to doing some more of this today, as it's a holiday one. I've got lots of ideas to share. We've done some of these in the live streams already, sort of terminal commands. We might be using it today. A couple of episodes ago, we improved the output of the CF logs command, so we could read the JSON that was sort of embedded in the logs. There's all sorts of wonderful things you can do in the terminal, of course. And because if you've seen the what's new of the SAP Cloud Platform, you'll see that upcoming, there's this new feature set B with a CLI, a command line interface for the things that you would normally do in the cockpit, in the Cloud Platform cockpit. So that's super exciting. I'm really looking forward to trying that out and sharing that with you. And so it's even more relevant and great for us that we've already got a bit of a leg up with all the stuff that we've been doing together over the past live stream episodes to make things better for ourselves. Create little functions and learn about pipelining output into input, input into output, and so on. Yeah. So anyway, so this is a blog post here I wrote called "Terminal Tip: Truncating CF Output," and I think you've seen this on the stream, so I won't show you that now. Otherwise, we'll get distracted. But there's the blog post. Go and have a read of it and see what you think. And in the comments, if you've got any tips yourself, put there. I'm going to do maybe some more terminal tip blog posts as well. Just a quick reminder of a few things. Next Tuesday, is it? Yeah, I think it's next Tuesday. Tom Young and Rich Heilman are having this fantastic debate. I'm looking forward to it on Hungarian notation and also data references versus field symbols. I didn't put that in the tweet because it was too long and also people wouldn't get that necessarily. But yeah, I'm super looking forward to this. I always learn things from debates, even if they're sort of quote unquote religious debates like Vim versus Emacs and so on. So I'm really looking forward to watching Tom and Rich in action there. Talking of in action, Max was online yesterday, and there's a recording of it, of course. He interviewed the wonderful Holger Bruschelt, who used to be at SAP, is now at Microsoft. So Holger is sort of the Microsoft SAP person in my mind. So have a look at the recording there. Oh, let me just put the URL in the chat for the live stream, which is next Tuesday that Tom is doing. And there's Max's channel. If you've not already subscribe, of course, and you can get the replay there. Max's Adventures in Cloud Platform, episode 5 with Holger. You can see Holger there, looking very handsome. And there's also, of course, one of our other friends and colleagues from the Developer Advocates team, Kevin. He's really been pimping up his YouTube channel, so go and subscribe to that. And he's already posted. ABAP Freak Show is awesome, isn't it? He's already posted a little video, not a live stream yet, but he's doing some small short videos. This Kevin is called Kevin's Coding Bites. So have a look at that. And this sort of is a replay, a very short replay of the stuff that he demoed on live stream, HandsOnSAPDev live stream, episode 59 when he came on. I mean, it's awesome. So yeah, check out Kevin's YouTube channel and subscribe and have a look at this thing here. So there we go. Yeah. So Phil, Tom used to do a live stream or a show called ABAP Freak Show. More than 10 years ago, which was awesome. And he's reviving that. But the idea is that he was thinking, well, shall we still call it ABAP Freak Show? Because he wants to do more than ABAP. He still wants to do some ABAP stuff, but he wants to go beyond ABAP as well, of course. But why not keep the name? So, it's ABAP Freak Show, but it's ABAP plus, as it were. Lots more than just ABAP. So there we go. So let's go back up now. I think that's everything I wanted to share. What time is it? Oh, it's only 9 minutes past 8. That's good. So yeah, I do want to get through this this debugging thing. Let's go and have a look here. Okay, so where we left off last time, in fact, I've sort of removed. Oops. I've removed the, let's go into the cockpit. I've removed that desk test thing, so we can actually deploy it again and have it nice and clean. Oh, DJ, that's not the right. I'm not the right person here. Here we go. I want to log on as the same person that we were using last Friday, which is which is. Oh, come on. There we go. I want to log off. There we go. So now let's try it. Oh, for goodness sake. What's going on? Ah, right. We've now successfully logged off. Let's log on. There we go. Now I want to log on as QMacro plus Workflow CodeJam because that's where I want to deploy this desk test. So just to remind ourselves, we've got this destination test, which is like the simplest thing that could possibly work, accessing an on-premises, fake on-premises OData service that's actually in the ES5 system that's really on the internet, but we're going through a cloud connector. I'm going to enter the trial account and just make sure the cloud connector is still connected. There it is. There's my trial sub account, which of course has got a Cloud Foundry component to it. And let's have a look, make sure the connector is running. Yes, it is. I started it up this morning again, 5:38. Yep, connected since 5:38 this morning. It's running as a Docker container on my Chrome OS machine. So that's fine. We've got this destination here, just to catch people up. We've got this destination called shop info that is a proxy type on premise, and we're going to try and access that through this simple app called Desk Test. We haven't got the app running. In fact, it's not even there. So that's right. Okay, so that's where we're going to start with. So let's bring that up now and Desk Test, and let's just remind ourselves of what's in there. We've got the manifest. Okay. So we've got the name, it's a Node.js build pack, the random root. This is the memory thing in there is thanks to Gregor saying, why are we giving it so much memory? That was default, so let's put the memory in there right now. And we've now finally bound that desk test service, desk test application to the three services it actually needs, as we found out over the previous few episodes. Of course, it needs the destination service, an instance of that, to read that destination definition that we've just seen. It needs, because it's a proxy type on premise, it needs the connectivity service to go and follow that link down to the on-premise connection through the cloud connector. And we've also determined that, of course, it needs a UAA service, XS UAA, to do the authentication. And we're about to look at the authentication. So that's that. And in here, we've got this root defining where a request to our desk test, a / request, should go. It should go to the same, URL path / the root URL, and but it should go to the destination shop info, which is this on-premises destination, serviced by the connectivity service in the cloud connector in my case, etc. Okay, so that's all there is there. So let's say cf push. There we go. Oh, hold on. Whoa. Are we in the right place? Yes, I'm in the right place. Okay. Max, my friend and colleague Max, told me about a really cool plugin called Targets, CF Targets, which I use lots of different cloud platform endpoints and accounts and things. If we get time, I'll show you this, and I'll show you a little bit of maybe how we can improve the use of that with scripting in the Bash shell. If not, we'll do it next week. But anyway, CF, the current target is CF is the workflow code jam. That's fine. So I can just do the push. Yeah, that's fine. If you've got multiple sort of endpoints, Cloud Foundry targets, it's really nice to be able to manage those and switch between them easily. And the targets plugin allows you to do that. In fact, while we wait, CF, we can see here CF plugins. Let's have a look. Targets. CF targets. There we go. CF targets. It'll give us a number of commands. Targets, which we just ran. Set target, save target, and then delete target. Okay, you can get the idea of what it does. So have a look at that. Have a play around with that. It's quite cool. There we go. So that's that. And let's see. It's installing any new modules. Blah blah blah. We've seen all this before. By the way. could I get away with making this a little bit smaller? But I'm just wondering. Let me know. But I do quite like the large size, so we can all see what's going on. Maybe watch it on my phone, or your phone rather, or sit on a nice sofa and watch the cast it to the Google Chrome app on the telly. I'm just rambling now. You can tell I'm really tired. So Phil, yeah, seriously frustrating that user ID issue, but good to know how to remove the cookies login again. Yes, yes, I didn't even deliberately do that. That was just a knee-jerk reaction type thing. Yeah, removing cookies. We're in command of the cookies, so let's sort that out ourselves. Okay, so now it's deployed, and in fact, we can sort of see it here with the CF apps, but also there it is, desk test. Oh, there we go. CF, just in case, that terminal tip truncating CF output. That's all about building up a little function that I created. Function that I created called trunk. So I can say CF apps trunk, because this stuff here is really, really ugly and hard to read. So all you do that is just pipe it into trunk, and it'll just truncate it and just show you what we really want to see, which is just, there's the name desk test started. Great. Okay, so that's that. And there it is in the cockpit, which is cool. Funny mouse. So I think, was it Tame Impala we had last Friday? And that was a band, wasn't it, Phil and Andrew? Is it an Australian band? Anyway, Tame Impala no more. We have a funny mouse, I thought it said funky mouse then. Funny mouse IP. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll start trying to access this application root, okay, and we'll see what's going on. Now, before we do that, why don't we bring up the terminal again? Let's go into here, and we'll say cf logs dest test recent. Okay, we can get the access to the recent logs, which is there. I think I could probably make this a little bit smaller, couldn't I? Let me know if you can still see that clearly. I'm pretty sure you can, but it's always nice to check, so let me know. So we remember that some of these logs are super ugly and super hard to read from a human perspective, but we also noted that the logs from Tame Impala from Western Australia, great band. I didn't listen to. I will listen to some later this morning when I finish this. I might listen to it loud. There we go. So we noticed that we've got some sort of embedded JSON here. I mean, come on. But anyway, we've managed to parse that. Okay. So what we'll do is I've got it written down what we did last time, because it's quite hard to remember. But if we say cf recent and then just put that into some logs there, so we're not hitting cf each time. We do want to do that. Sorry, we do want to do that into logs. Come on, there we go. Okay, so we now got those in logs, and now we can say cat logs and grep for. And now this is what I'm going to do this time is, instead of looking for, I think it was written at, I'm going to look for out and then an open curly bracket. So I'm looking for this, okay, because I don't want to distinguish between what's in here. And I've been looking into the Cloud Foundry documentation and starting to get an understanding of what this stuff is, because it's lots of different logs from different sort of levels mixed together. And we'll come back to this out a little bit later as well. So we'll do that first of all, but we also will, of course, do this line buffered, so we can get the output there. Cat logs there, so we get that, that's fine. But then what we did was we sort of tried to remove the spaces here so we could do a cut nicely. But I'm trying to reduce the amount of stuff we want to do here. So actually what we can do is standard buff, standard out, do line buffering for this cut command, where the delimiter is a space. And we'll just say, well, there's actually three spaces there, so it's 3 extra fields. So we'll go from 7 onwards. Okay, so now we should get just, there we go, now we should get just the, there we go, there, just the JSON. So now we can sort of pipe that into our wonderful friend JQ, give us some raw stuff here, and we'll just have the written at, what we had before, right? Written at and then a space. You can do this a different way, but then a space, and then we'll have the message, which is this thing here. Okay, so that should be fine. Oh, can I indent a string with message? Where are we? Yes. Okay, well, was that because out? That's fine, isn't it? Out. Message written at. I've got a plus. There we go. There we go. So that's what we had before. Okay, we'll use that. Yeah, Andrew is saying, now the logs being inconsistently structured. That's a good phrase, and it's very accurate. They're also not so easy for programs to parse either. No, I mean, I really am not a fan of inconsistent logs, and I think that comes from my early days working on IBM Big Iron mainframes, where of course it was all proprietary, and IBM was in control of everything. Things happened more slowly in those days in terms of creating software and everything. But the logs were so beautiful and so consistent and so perfectly structured and so easy to parse and so on. I was spoiled. So when I see this sort of stuff, I get super frustrated. Why can't it be better? But anyway, we can make it better ourselves, right? That's putting the power in our own hands. So we've got this now. So why don't we say, what should we call it? CF or log clean. Clean log, and we'll call that as a function and stick it in there, and then we'll do that. And now we can say CF logs dest test recent clean log, and hopefully there we go, perfect. So we've now got a cleaner log. At least we're picking out those ones with the out open curly brackets. We know we've got some JSON in the output. So we'll do that now, and we'll get rid of the recent. So we're just having a scrolling sort of, it will update automatically. Let's do that first of all. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to go here. I want to open up. In fact, I want to open up an incognito window, right? So we can control the cookies better and everything. So let's bring that to the fore. Where's the I want an incognito window there. There we go. That's there and there. Okay, perfect. I'll already open up the our favorite tool, the Chrome Developer Tools, which is awesome. By default, I've already got do not clear log on page reload, and have I got, yes, use large request rows. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to the application root here, copy that link address and paste it in. Okay, there we go. Dest test funny mouse IP CF apps EU10 HANAOnDemand.com / okay, and let's see what we get. Okay, well, from a human perspective, right, we get what we expected, which is the challenge to say, give me your authentication details. So this is the Authentication Code OAuth grant type or flow. And what we saw, and we saw this right at the end, right? What we saw was we were given this this logon page, but it was actually after a number of requests, and we started digging into this. So let's just copy this. Well, let's have a look at. We looked at this. We saw, okay, we got 200 from there. That was a request to the root. Okay, I made that a little bit bigger. That was a request to the root URL of our Dest Test Cloud Foundry app, and we got a 200 OK. But then we didn't really get much stuff. We got some HTML, okay, and for whatever reason, it wasn't previewing. I think it's because actually there was no body, was there? So what we'll do is I'll bring this back up here. By the way, I was running the other day and I saw a nail sticking out of my thumb, as in a bit of thumbnail. I thought, I'll just get rid of that. Pulled it off, and it's really made the thumb sore, and I can't press the Control or the Alt or the Super key on my keyboard without it really hurting. Anyway, so we've got lint log. Yeah, lint log. That would have been a good name, wouldn't it? Yes. Maybe I'll call it that next time. Lint log. You can add the logging. So yes, exactly, Vincent. I'm sort of deliberately that's a great point, by the way. You can use Kibana, but I want to sort of come to that maybe later. Plus, I prefer to see logs at the command line because we can parse them, we can sort them, we can save them, and everything. I much prefer using the command line to any sort of graphical tool, which is you just feel less in control and less connected to what you're trying to look at. But Vincent, you make a really good point, Kibana. So I've brought the terminal back up there, and as you can see, we got a couple of bits of output, which we didn't see last time because I was grepping for something else. I was grepping for app, wasn't I? And anyway, so what we can see here is this is output from our sort of Cloud Foundry app. So what we can see is, look, the request URL was a slash, okay, the root. And it says, okay, I'm sending the page back with the client-side redirect, okay? So it's a page with HTML with a client redirect in there, okay, which we'll see shortly in the HTML. And it's a redirect to HTTPS p blah 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 trial authentication EU10 HandsOnSAPDev.com OAuth authorized response type code blah blah. Okay, so that reminds us, right? If I bring up the authorization, there we go, access workflow APIs using the authorization code grant type. This is what we looked at last time, right? And if we look at the flow, the procedure, first of all, we send a GET request, okay, and we say, okay, OAuth authorize. So we at the endpoint of the authorization server, URL / OAuth authorize client ID equals client ID and response type equals code. Now, client ID equals something, right? And response type equals code, great. OAuth authorize, great. So everything we've seen is described to be the first step in the authorization code grant type. We're seeing exactly here being played out in front of our eyes. So what is the URL that we've got here? And the fully qualified domain name, host name, is p blah 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 trial authentication EU10 HANA.ondemand.com. And if you remember from a previous episode, that is the URL of the authorization server that relates to me. Okay. In fact, we could see that if we have a look at the service bindings, for example, of this desk test here. And if we have a look at the XSUAA, for example, we can see, first of all, look at that, SB desk test !T37882, which is exactly what the client ID is in the client ID query parameter in the URL we've just looked at, okay? And the URL of the authentication server is that, which is exactly, exactly what we've got in that log. So let's bring that log back now. There we go, p blah 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 trial authentication EU10. So what's happening is we as the human with the browser are getting a client-side redirect, redirecting us to that. So this thing here, oh, sorry, I brought that the wrong one. There we go. This thing here, this logon form, is being presented to us by not the desk test application, but by the authentication server. Remember, in that OAuth documentation we saw there's four actors, four actors. I'm going to use the word in this flow. There's the resource owner, as in me, the human. There's the client, okay, which is the desk test app. There's the authorization server, which is the one that's serving this, and then there's the resource server, which is whatever we want to access at the end. And notice as well, we can tell this logon page is from the authorization server that we've just seen the URL of, because the URL is there for us all to see in the Omnibox. Okay, so it's all starting to make sense. Now let's have a quick look, because we had a brief look at this before. let's bring that up and use curl to access, not that, to access the, where is it here? The root. Let's go and get the root again. I mean, I should maybe remember this, but anyway, copy link address, curl, it's this one. Okay, we're doing the same thing as what I did in the browser. Let's put it into out.html. And this is sort of what we saw in there. And in fact, we can say, let's just grab that and have a look at it. That'll do. Let's just grab that again. Have a look at it in some sort of I don't know, HTML pretty. That'll do. HTML formatter. Bang. Got it. Let's just put that in there and format and see what happens and see what it gives us. There we go. That's a lot nicer to read, right? Let's make that a bit bigger. So this is what we get back from the first request. Okay, we get the 200 response. And we get back basically nothing but a head in HTML. We get some cookies. Let's ignore those for now. The most important thing is we get a redirect. Set the location of this particular tab in the browser to that. And check it out. OAuth, authorized, response type equals code, client type equals blah, 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 blah. And then redirect URI. Okay, the redirect URI is to here. Go callback. I can't easily grab that. There we go. Callback. And now let's just decode that URL because it's sort of URL encoded. It's a callback to /login/callback, but where? In our CF app, which is of course being listened to. This is a callback to the approuter, because it's the approuter that we're running when we run this app. So the approuter is sending out, first of all, this redirect, and it's also giving a callback to say, come back to me when you've got the authorization code. So /login/callback will be serviced by the approuter. Okay. Well, that makes sense. There we go. That's that. So that's the first thing that happens. So let's do that now. Where are we? Here we go. So let's put in here. Oh, so we got and that's the redirect. That's the result of the redirect. Authorize response type equals code, client type equals. So we've seen this already. Okay. Are we all still following? By the way, let me know if this is sort of making sense. Let me know also if it's too much detail. I don't think it. I hope it's not, but please let me know. If we're sort of going the right direction. So we can see auth, authorized, response type equals code, and client ID equals that. So give me a code which then the client can exchange, ask the authorization server to exchange for an access token that it will then use as a bearer token to go in. Thanks, Andrew. Appreciate it. So and then we get the okay. So then we get the login page. Okay, because that's where we redirected to, isn't it? Blah, blah, blah. So the login looks like that. So that's this page here, served to us by the authentication server, right? The authorization server, authentication server. Anyway, the auth server, let's say that. And that, of course, has got a little logo and some CSS and everything. So that's these things here. So let's now authenticate. Okay, get past that first step. Let's close that. We're going to keep these here. Let's close that now. And of course, we successfully get access to the EPM ref apps shop serve, the OData service that's running on ES5 that we're accessing through the connectivity service and going down the Cloud Connector tunnel, all that stuff that we set up last time. Thank you, Murat, and good morning to you. Good afternoon, sir. And Rahul, yes, seems like all the actors having dedicated, they do have roles to play. They all have roles to play. All the world's a stage and all the something or other are merely players in it or something like that. What's that quote? Oh dear, that's bad that I don't remember the quote, isn't it? So what we get then, of course, is the login.do. So that form, the logon form with the user ID and password, is a normal HTML form, and the action or the target of the login form is a login.do. Okay, and the type was form URL encoded. Okay, so we send that stuff off. What's it? Can we see anything in the headers there? Response headers, blah, 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 request headers. Woo. There we go. We get all that stuff there. But then we get redirected to where? To this location. A 302 redirect always has to have a location in the response. And we get redirected to the next step, right? Let's just go back to here, which is we get this, well, actually, let's go back here again, just to have a look at it. We get redirected to the OAuth authorized response type code, right? Which is that thing there, which was where we're still going, OAuth. And of course, then that redirects us to our callback that we set, okay, to desk test funny mouse IP CF apps, okay? So we've jumped back with the code, and the approuter now receives that /login/callback. And of course, it's able then to grab that code, 8Q3, whatever. Okay, so anything we can see here, location. That's right, yes. So that's the request going from the browser. Okay, so the browser is making the callback to the approuter, passing the approuter sort of, implicitly or unknowingly or just beautifully, right? Passing it that code 8Q3 that the authorization server has granted because I gave my correct user ID and password. The approuter then says, "Oh, thank you very much," and then redirects us, the human who wants to see the resource, to, we got a 302 redirect to location /, which is going back to the approuter with the /. So you'd think, first of all, well, isn't this process going to repeat again? We're going to get the logon page again? No. What happens then in the back end at the approuter then turns around with this code, of course, remember, right? If we have a look at the documentation, once we've got the code, copy the code from the HTTP URL, right? It's 8Q3 or whatever it was. So this is what the approuter is doing now. And then the approuter says, all right, I've got this code. I need to exchange it for an access token. Request access token from the OAuth 2 authorization server. So it being the approuter, of course, acting on our behalf. Well, acting on its own behalf as well, really, I suppose. Sends a post request to the token endpoint, as in the authorization server, and specify the grant type of authorization code. Use the URL service configuration, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so it's the thing that does the OAuth token grant type equals authorization code, and here's my code, and give me a bearer token. And then it in the background will, of course, because basically, there's no reason why we should see any of this in our browser because it's doing it for us behind the scene. It's acting as a reverse proxy, which is the whole point, right? So the next thing we see, of course, content length 593, content type application XML. The next thing we see is the actual XML of the actual, is that the metadata document? The service document, yeah, the service document of the OData service. Okay, and we get some, image, blah, blah, blah. That's probably from my little XML display or whatever, I don't know. Okay, so we've got a general idea now of what happens, but there's still something missing, right? Gregor Wolf, have you already shown what the approuter does in the background? That could be nicely done when you run the approuter locally. Exactly. So that's something, Gregor, you read my mind. That's something I want to do on the next stream because, while we've now seen the first part of the authorization code grant type happening before our eyes in the browser, because of course, the browser is where the human actor is involved. We haven't actually seen, we've sort of theorized just now in our heads what's going on because we've got the documentation. We know that it's got to get this code and it's going to request that code to be exchanged for an authorization, for an access token, right? But we would really like to see that, wouldn't we? Rather than try and, yes, exactly. And the interesting part is that the client doesn't see the JOT. Exactly. So we still need to dig into seeing if we can see, or seeing how we can see the approuter doing that little dance in the background, as Gregor says, by running the approuter locally. Remember, in the previous live stream, and the previous one as well, I think we ran the approuter locally. And remember, it ran because it ran on, by default, it ran on local port 5000, didn't it? Whereas when it's in the Cloud Foundry, some environmental variable is telling it to run on 8080. In fact, let's just double check that. Let's double check that. Let's go up here and can we SSH into there? Dest test using CF. Let's see if we can SSH into this running container. Oh yes, of course, it's a fresh container. So we need to first of all say CF, is it enable SSH dest test? There we go, and we have to restart it, don't we? CF restart dest test, and then we can SSH into it, and then we'll look to see what port it's running on. But in the meantime, I was having a look this morning to see if there was any more information we could see from those logs. So we've got these logs here, right? Okay, we've got these logs, but there we go. There's evidence that it's running on 8080, right? But this isn't really telling us much, right? Well, we can see the results, dynamic log level switching not available. Okay, there's the app restarting, okay, in the container, because we've just told it to restart. But this doesn't really tell us much. It tells us that it's sending that client-side redirect in that HTML that we saw, that we sort of decoded or pretty printed so we could see what's going on. But as Gregor has also pointed out, we're not really seeing what's going on in the second part of the authorization code grant type flow. However, we can see, I was looking around, as you do, in that in the README of the approuter documentation, right? And you can crank up the level of logging. So if I have a look here at where is it? Oh, in fact, let's carry on reading that. Oh no, let's have a look in the dest test. Yes, Andrew. I think you and I came to the same conclusion just now. While I said the same thing. Can the approuter be running a logging mode? I was thinking this morning. Oh yeah, can we crank up the volume of the logging of the approuter? And if we have a look in the documentation in this README, which I think we put into a gist last time to read it more easily. I think we did. But I did find there's a troubleshooting section, okay? And check this baby out. CF set env application name XS app log level maximum debug. So let's try that. CF set env, it's another beautiful command we've never actually used in Angular before, but there we go, we can pass an environmental variable. I wonder if we could play around with the destinations. With setEnv, we could change the destination as it was running. That'd be cool, wouldn't it? I have no idea. So let's quit out there. CF setEnv dest. What was it? Oh, what was it? What was the URL? What was the thing called? Approuter readme. Set env XS app log level debug. Let's just capture that XS app log level debug. That'll do, right? XS app log level and then debug there. Like, okay, so let's go here and say CF set env dest test. Let's see what happens. Setting environmental variable like level of right. Okay, restage. Okay, so CF restage dest test, which is only fair. We got to give it a chance to actually up the volume of itself. Let's do that, and let's see what we can find. Question withdrawn. Nice one. Nice one. Well, you can leave the questions. Good question. I would like to know well, not exactly, but what is the sort of delay? I think the delay between me saying something and it actually reaching you is probably about 20 seconds or something, 30 seconds. Waiting for app to start. I do have a, in the YouTube studio, like a little thumbnail of the actual live video, and I can see that it's just catching up there. There was also a debug level. Yes, we've set the debug level now, haven't we? I hope I have. Are you saying that because I didn't do that? In the documentation. Yes, debug level. Okay, so now CF logs. Let's just do that for now to see what we've got. And what I'll do is I'll bring up this up here. I will go and remove the cookies. So we got cookies for the authentication, so the authorization endpoint, and we've also got cookies for the actual app itself. So get rid of everything. Did I say error level or did I say debug? Hold on. No, I did say debug. I hope. Yeah, I think that's okay. I think that's okay. So let's run that. Now, if I go back to here and grab the URL again and paste it in, copy link address. Let's go here again. Let's just clear this out. There we go. So we start from scratch again. And then I'll bring up what we've got. Desk test, blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool. And then we'll authenticate as well and log on and get to the service document. Oh, I've seen something very exciting down here. I'll bring that up to show you now. Some red. That's all right, Andrew. The fact that you're drinking red wine triply excuses. What's the word I'm looking for? Excuses you, not excludes you. Definitely not excludes you. Triply excludes. No, exclude. God, I'm so tired. What's the word? Excuses you. Right. So, Rahul, did restage and restart do the same thing in CF? No, they don't do the same thing. And I can't remember for the life of me what the difference is. So we'll dig into that next time. That's a good question. They are different. One is sort of, bigger than the other, as it were. But let's find that out. But before we find that out, before we go to next week, check this out. What is going on? We've got here, let's just use our wonderful tmux sort of scrollback buffer. We've got stuff in red. Now, I appreciate you probably can't see that as well as I can, but we've got all this stuff. Oh my goodness. Now, everything still works. So what I'm guessing is that these aren't errors per se. These are spat out because we turned debug on. Okay. They're being shown in red by default because, whatever log processor is spitting these out, it's nicely formatting them for us in red because it thinks that they're errors, which is, excusable. I've said that word again, haven't I? Excuses. It's excusable. But I don't think these are errors. Okay, so let's have a look. What we can see, though, is we've got this. It's the same pattern, isn't it? We've got the written at, and we've got down here. Look at that there, Chrome OS. Chrome OS, yes, the future. We've got here. I saw it a minute ago. There, message. So at least, okay, we've got some consistency. We've got some consistency in the logs, okay, from the app part, okay. I did notice as well that this RTR is the router output, okay. But anyway, we'll dig into logs even more next time. So if I now say, what did we call it? Log. Clean log. We called it clean log. If we now say, just look at the error ones, just for now. Okay, instead of looking at the out ones, we'll look at the error ones. We'll look at the debug specific logs. Will that work for us? CF logs desk test, clean log, or as Andrew suggested, what did you suggest? Lint log, I like that. So let's do that again. Let's bring up this here. Let's remove the cookies. 8 again. I like the consistency of this. We're repeating everything. Let's go in. Oh no, that's the wrong thing in my paste buffer. Let's go and grab this link address here, stick it in there. get rid of the long output. So just so we can see what's going on again. We don't need the actual configuration. Perfect. Ready, steady, go. Ooh, I've got something interesting down here already. Look at that. Let's have a look. So what we've got here, that was the first output. Look at that. Incoming request to approuter. Whoa. We haven't seen that text before. Incoming request to approuter. Yep, okay, that makes sense. And the path is slashed because we've requested the root path info on the desk test app URL. Get headers, okay, blah, blah, blah. Here are all the headers, and those headers are the headers from my browser. Okay, user agent, there's the user agent and everything. Okay, fine. Okay, so now let's bring in, let's authenticate, and let's see what happens there. Okay, we get that back again. Wow, okay. Let's see. We can see, look at that, OData BEP. Who recognizes that? Backend event and enablement processor from Gateway, SAP Gateway. That's a response from the SAP backend. So this debug is definitely going to tell us a little bit more. Let's have a look. Let's have a look. Oh my goodness, Gregor. We might be able to see everything here. Okay, let's go. That's the one we saw before. There's the incoming request from me in the browser. There is another incoming request to the approuter. And remember, that's after we authenticated. So we're now seeing what's happening on the back end. Okay, we sort of, in the browser, in the Chrome developer tools, we sort of, it left off once it did this authorized response type and then the callback, didn't it? Okay, so now, let's bring that back up here. We're now seeing what happens. We're sort of like, you know, turning around and opening the door to see what's going on in the back room as a result of that login callback code equals blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's because in the browser, that's all we saw. Thank you, backend event provider. Thank you, Gregor. A question about expiry. Oh, hold on, what's this? I'm missing things here. Andrew Barnard, RTR 10, approuter, but what is 10? Now, RTR is the Go router. That's the thing that's a Cloud Foundry thing rather than the approuter. There's lots of routing going on, right? There's lots of reverse proxying and proxying going on in this whole sort of scenario. And I was looking at the documentation earlier this week, thinking, what the heck is RTR? I like these 3-character codes at least, you know. Anyway, but RTR is the Go router. It's in the Cloud Foundry documentation, and it is the thing that routes between the Cloud Foundry and the actual app that's running in the container. Okay, so that's what that is. I don't know what /10 means yet. Maybe it's, I don't know. I could guess, but let's not guess for now. Let's dig in and see if we can find what that is next time. I love the fact that you're all as curious about this as I am, because, you know, it's fun. I think it's really interesting, right? A question about expiry, but we're good to know what's the relationship with OAuth and session life on a project at the moment where I need to understand more about this as far as mobile. Okay, Phil, remind me again next week, because I'm going to forget that question. Remind me, and we'll put that on the list of things to look into. Okay, so thanks, Phil. Have you got a beer, by the way? You better have a beer, or because Andrew's got wine. Anyone still knows what OPU stands for? Yes, I do. Nobody said it, so I'm going to say it. Occasional platform user. That was from the early days of what Gateway was really all for originally. Yes. Okay. Robert. Robert. Hello, Robert. It's great to see you. OData processing unit. No, occasional platform user. The whole idea of Gateway was it was to provision data in the form of OData services for apps that were built, outside of the SAP GUI and, maybe web-based, for people who didn't use SAP that often, and also for developers who didn't use SAP that often. So one of the ideas was that the Gateway allowed, the developer to translate between, the 5-character codes of, a structure in the dictionary, you know, all the sort of weird and wonderful SAP terminology, and something a bit more sort of human, which I personally dislike. You know, I don't want long field names, I want short field names. But anyway, that was one of the aims. But one of the other aims was that, yeah, let's build this stuff for people who don't use SAP very much, you know, so they give them a nicer interface because they don't remember how to use SAP GUI or whatever. So exactly, Andrew. Yeah, you're typing exactly what I'm saying. Perfect. Andrew, are we the same person? I don't know. But anyway, I'm talking too much because I want to look at this because it's super interesting, right? Because we've just opened the back door to see what's going on at the approuter level behind the scenes. Once it's received from that redirect in our browser, once it's received that callback code here. So let's have a look. Incoming request to approuter with the callback code, which is there. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, there's a referrer. And then, Gregor, our wish has been granted. Check this out. The next thing that the debug log gives us is requesting user access and authentication or authorization or whatever the A stands for. I can never remember. At our authentication server endpoint, right? /OAuth/token. Remember, in the documentation, step 2, request an access token from the OAuth 2 authorization server, send a post request to the token endpoint with /OAuth token, specifying grant type authorization, and the code is the code. So let's see if that is exactly what we're seeing here. Authorization endpoint, yes. OAuth token, yes. Oops, I just did mess up there. OAuth token, yes. Grant type authorization code, code secret. But code is that code that we saw up here, which is this callback code on that line there, TK9N12 and so on, right? So that's just really cool. So we're seeing what's happening in the background. So let's see, incoming request. Incoming request to approuter path method get headers. What's that one? Oh, and that's it. Rewritten. Oh, okay. Well, actually, I think we should stop here because this is getting even more exciting. We can see now we're accessing the virtual host name that we've set up in the cloud connector, right? So we'll dig into that level, right, next time. But before we do that, there's still things to see here. Go away, highlighter. There's still things to see here, which is we've got that. I guess what we don't see is the response, but we can see it's requesting it. And what it gets back is the access token. I wonder if somewhere here, yes, we can see what happens to the access token. It's being used here because we know it's used in a bearer token. And where is that request being made to? Oh my goodness, here we go. Request a backend. Rewritten URL, virtual ES5. So why don't we leave it there? We never got around to writing. Oh, we wrote one function, one sort of bash function, lint logs or clean logs. Let me know if you want some more on that as well. I think the more we dig in, the more there is to learn together, right? Which is a nice problem to have. So that's really exciting. I didn't think we'd see all that. That's really cool. Seriously. But anyway, Andrew, so the approuter has implemented the author. Yes, that's exactly the point. So I didn't say that explicitly, but yes, I mean, I need to say that explicitly. The approuter is the super important thing for us as developers because it is the thing that does the dance on our behalf, right? And once the approuter has received that, anyway, I'm going to stop there. It's 8:59. Is it time already, Si? Until next week. Yes, thank you all so much for joining on this holiday Friday. Hope you were as excited as I was at seeing this on a Easter Friday. I think it's wonderful that you all joined me. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next time. Don't forget, code at home this afternoon, UK time, 15:30. If you've got kids, want to learn the program, etc., etc. But until then, goodbye.